This is a blueberry bush. I pruned it back this summer, and what I did was there is a process whereby you can get some trees, some plants to produce a root system off of one of their limbs. Then you can cut that limb off, plant it in the ground or in a pot, and start another tree. It makes it easier and faster to produce another plant. And so what you do is, and I've demonstrated this in some of my other videos, but you go ahead and let's see if I can get this peeled off of here. This aluminum foil is to keep this dirt that I have around the plant from drying out or getting too hot. And so what I've done is I've come along and I've stripped away some of the layers of the tree limb down to where it's just white wood. And then I go ahead and wrap it in a soil mixture, bind it tight, and leave it for a couple of months. And that's what I've done here with this one. What you then do is you come along and hopefully it's produced roots. You cut it off right here, right there. Then you go up to the top and you cut off some of the upper layers so that that root system that hopefully is produced here will be able to produce new limbs and leaves. Now, this is just my blueberry bush. Not sure how that's going to work, but I've done the same process over here with my fig tree. And there was a branch right here, and I took the aluminum foil off and cut it off at the appropriate spot, just an inch or two below where the roots are supposed to take place, and then cut off the top because it had too much growth there, and I want the root system that's being produced to be able to support the upper part of that limb. So here's the fig tree, and it's called air layering or marcotting, and you can see that it's got a whole root system that's been produced, and as it continued to produce all those other branches and even figs. So I cut it off. I'm going to take this plastic wrap off of it. I'm going to plant it in a pot, and you can already see that it's producing, getting ready to produce a sprouting system with new leaves and branches coming out. So I can tell that the marcotting thing works really well for figs. I've also done the same thing for, what's it called? Mulberry. This is a mulberry tree. I marcotted a mulberry branch, cut it off, and I'm just soaking them in water right now to give them a good soak before I put them into a pot. But then we'll see what happens with this as time goes on. So I've taken some Miracle-Gro potting mix and a little bit of peat moss, and I've mixed them up into some, moistened that mix just a little bit, and I'm going to put it into these little pots. And now that these things have soaked a little bit, I'll take them out and I'll transplant them into the pots. I'm going to go ahead and take these plastic bags off of the root system. So 2.5 months ago, I put this whole thing together, and it's had 2 months to grow, and you can see that this fig has gotten a great root system on it. You can see where I cut this thing as it was growing on the tree. Cut it about 1 inch below, or 2 inches below maybe, the place where I wanted the roots to start growing. They've done a great, phenomenal job. So there it is, the root system that I need. And the reason again I topped it off was because I need for the energy to go into these little sprouting things coming out right there, those little buds right there. And not waste the energy, the little energy that it has as the root system continues to get established. It wouldn't be able to support those that big leaf or branch that was above it. Oh, there it is. It's amazing that it's been able to do this while it was on the tree. And so this is going to give me a good head start with a nice fig plant, fig tree. Just interesting. Marcotting or air layering, as I understand it, that's what it's called. Never done this before. But I think that's just very interesting that it can produce a root system while it's still on the tree. Then you just cut that off and plant it. I mean, isn't that cool? Here's the limb that I cut off the mulberry tree. I cut off the very end right there where it was branching out, and took off the aluminum foil, and then cut off the end. I don't want the root. The root system may not be big enough to support all the entire branch, so I cut that off. And now we're going to go ahead and see if it produced a root system at all. If it does, it wouldn't be as vigorous as perhaps the fig tree, but let's see if it's done anything. Okay, so I can see some roots, a root system that has started there now that I've got the twine off of it. Wow, looks nice. Okay, so it's got a root system that's going. Let's go ahead and unpack this thing and get it planted in a planter. One more look at that root system. So it really has been producing roots while it was on the tree. Okay, so there it is, the mulberry tree limb that has been marcotted or air layered, producing roots, is now in the pot. If you look real closely, right there at the end of my finger, you can see a bud coming out right there. The root system will support that bud. Not sure how much higher up it can go, but I just want to have the energy in the root system to support what's up above, so that's why I've cut it down to size somewhat. Okay, so we know with fig trees and mulberry trees, marcotting and air layering works. Not so sure about my blueberries, so we'll see. Okay, so this is the air layering or marcotting for my blueberry bush, and I'm gonna go ahead and take it off. I will cut it, the limb, right there. See if we can see that in the camera. Yeah, right there. I'll probably come and top it off a little bit because the root system will not be able to support everything that's going on up here. So let's just see how this works. Let's see, just not sure how much of the top to cut off. I know the root system won't be able to support it even if there is a root system. So let's just see. And I'm gonna cut it right down here. So unlike my mulberry and my fig that produced a root system, my blueberry plant produced no root system at all, just this strange looking stuff right here. And there it is, strange looking stuff right here. So I don't think that with my blueberry attempt it was very successful. But one thing you can see is where I stripped off all the cambium layer, about an inch of cambium layer, and on my other trees that were successful in marcotting, it produced the root system right around this area here. Okay, this is an attempt to air layer or marcot a pecan tree. And so I've done that here, and I'll go ahead and investigate this. It's been on there for about 2 months, and I'll see whether it produced a root system. So for the pecan tree, the air layering or marcotting produced no root system at all. Just more callus formation. Oops, get it in the picture. No root formation at all, just this callus formation. Don't know what that means, but it looks like air layering was not successful for the pecan tree. It's a persimmon tree, a fuyu, and it has some fuyu fruit on it. And I was going to attempt to do air layering with one of the branches. I've since learned, since I did this, that you will not successfully be able to air layer a Japanese persimmon, or persimmon for that matter at all. So I'm just going to cut it off and look at it. So air layering with a persimmon tree does not work. It's interesting that on YouTube there were a number of people showing you how to air layer persimmon trees, but they never, none of them ever showed you the end product where they had a root system that was produced, and now I know why. And so there's a California association out there that gave a list of things that could be marcotted or air layered, and persimmons is not one of them. I could have read that list if I'd have found that list before I started air layering all my plants, but it was a fun experiment. Okay, so this is a pecan tree, and I attempted to air layer this one, and I attempted to air layer that one over there. I took it off, there was nothing going on. Total bust. But on this pecan tree, it's different. I don't know what the difference is, but you can see here already there's a root system that's developing in there. Why one pecan tree would do it and another wouldn't, I don't know. Well, let's take care of this. I've cut off the branch that's been marcotted on this pecan tree. It's been over 2 months. I don't want to leave all this top there because the root system would not be able to handle supplying all the nutrients to all of this top. So I'm going to cut some of the top off. Okay, so wow, look at the root system on this pecan tree. On the other pecan tree, it didn't do a thing. But on this pecan tree, it's really putting on a root system. About 2 months. I'm going to put it in a pot and try to grow it. I've cut off most of the top. I might even have to cut off more because the root system is not going to be able to handle much growth at the top. And I see that it's budding out. I mean, look at that. You can see those buds right there. And right there. That's what I want, to get those buds going. And hopefully this root system will be able to do that once I put it in the pot. Okay, so here's my marcotted pecan tree. I decided to top it right here and get rid of this stuff because I see these little buds. Let me see if I can find the bud. There's a bud, and there's a bud. There's a bud there, and it just looks like if the roots can put their energy into those buds, that's really what I want to happen. I don't want to overburden it by having too much top growth on there. And mind you, I don't know what I'm doing. This is all new to me. So, never done this before. We'll just hope that it works out the way I want. There's the marcotted fig. There's the marcotted mulberry. And there's the marcotted pecan. And all have a good root system to them. And I'm just hoping that this will work out really well.